Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, July 17th, 2024, and it is now 5:15 p.m. We have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Davis, Board Member Ross.
Here.
Board Member Bailey.
Here.
Board Member Cannibal.
Here.
Board Member Avila.
Here.
Board Member Davis. Vice Chairman Fletcher.
Here.
Chairman Losner.
I'm here. All right. Mr. Good, do you have any deletions or deferrals?
No, sir.
All right. We have before us the minutes from June 26th. Do we have a motion to approve? It's been moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by the Vice Chair. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next item. Aye. Yes. Okay. Next item is tab 2, car number 4304, roof replacement for 204, 220, and 230 North Chrome Avenue. Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The buildings located at 204, 220, and 230 North Chrome Avenue, also known as Chrome Marketplace, are owned by the Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency and are the subject of redevelopment plans that will create a new dining, entertainment, and nightlife destination in downtown Homestead. The existing roof of the building has reached the end of its useful life and is in need of replacement. At the April 9th CRA board meeting, staff presented a proposal for roof replacement and received direction to seek more cost-effective solutions and to reach out to local vendors. On May 23rd, the CRA presented this roofing project alongside other City of Homestead opportunities at the Roofing Industry Day. A total of 1,333 vendors were notified, including 165 registered local vendors. There was no local vendor participation at the event, so in the interest of time and efficiency, staff pursued a job order contracting JOC solution. Advanced Roofing Inc. has provided pricing for this project per the Gordian EZ IQC contract number FLR10RW01111821ADR. The roof is 20,199 square feet and consists of 3 sections: gypsum deck, wood deck, and concrete deck. The existing asphalt roofing system will be completely replaced with a PVC roofing system. The cost per square foot is approximately $25.56, not accounting for contingency funds. Work is expected to begin by September 30th, 2024, and complete within 30 days. Staff recommends the CRA board approve the attached resolution approving and authorizing the agreement for the Chrome Marketplace roof replacement project with Advanced Roofing under the Sourcewell Guardian JOC Cooperative Purchasing Program for the total cost of $516,236.29. This authorization will also allow the executive director to allocate $51,626.63 for any unforeseen conditions or changes required. The total fiscal impact of this item, including contingency, is $567,862.92. This is a savings of $216,938.08 compared to the previous proposal.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the board on this item?
Mayor, I have a comment.
Sure. Board Member Avila.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank staff for going out there and trying to find a better price and for achieving that. I want to also take a moment to just think of whether or not we have an opportunity here to delay the roof replacement in light of being able to go back out and market this property. It might be a little premature of us to redo the roof and then engage with a business that might actually need a different kind of roof or want to have rooftop amenities. And then, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. So if it's possible, especially this being a corner unit and being prime real estate on Chrome Avenue, I think it's pivotal that we kind of see this potential and try to think ahead of the game here and maybe delay the replacement until we explore that kind of redevelopment, until we go back out to the market and seek. And then we can seek insurance extensions if needed, because I know that we have like a 6-month insurance policy on this property. But have we considered that option there? And you have anything you'd like to, maybe add to that.
Thank you. I'll look to our director for his perspective and background on your issue. Mr.
Yes.
Good?
So the building is currently under what's called the vacant building insurance policy. Because of the deteriorated condition of the roof, the fact that it's vacant, the fact that it's not in good repair, it is a much more expensive premium than a traditional insurance premium. We are in a policy that expires at the end of this year. And if we were to not redo the roof, we would have to seek an extension on this existing much more expensive policy rather than being able to include it with our normal building insurance policies that we have for our other facilities. And I definitely hear Councilwoman Avila's comments as to different proposers. This roof, as it's currently designed, is meant to be a mechanical roof. It's not for occupancy. To do those changes would be a significant change to this building structure that I frankly can't opine on whether or not it is feasible.
I appreciate that. And I guess from a basic perspective, the roof is leaking, and there's wood deck beneath that roof that will continue to rot if the roof is not replaced. Is that correct?
Yes,
And that opens up a whole other...
Yes, that's correct. If we were to wait on this, the replacement could become much more expensive.
And tell me if I'm off base, and I don't know if you would know if there's anyone here who could tell us. Putting a roof on the building now to make these buildings watertight probably doesn't preclude. I would imagine that for a rooftop amenity, there would have to be some additional decking put down anyway, that you're not going to have foot traffic directly on the roof surface. Would that be accurate?
So, Mr. Mayor, good evening. Zari Hekwaba, City Manager. I hear Councilwoman Avila's concern and recommendation. As a structural engineer and engineer of record in many projects, my position is very simple. If you were to reconstruct this facility, this building, it requires us to come to compliance with the current building code. And that means additional funds. It means that the project is going to price escalation, cost escalation, and having a structural engineer actually go in there and redesign the entire structure from scratch. That's almost like having a brand new building. I don't know if we have the funding available to transition from a roof replacement of $500,000 to potentially a couple of $1 million of brand new building.
So that's a really nice way of saying if we want a rooftop amenity, there's a lot more than just the roof decking. The interior structural issues that we all know are very expensive. So
Right.
with that,
Right.
Councilwoman Avila, any comment?
Yeah, no, I wanted to just make sure that if we wanted to open the opportunity up to some larger scale occupants and not just come in and put your food hall here kind of thing, then we would be doing something to foreclose that option. At least we'd be paying for a roof that maybe isn't needed. But if we're just trying to market the property as is, the space as is, then let's go forward and do the roof. But I know that you had some conversations, or you had some contacts that might be interested in putting in some offers for the property. We would go back out to the market and see with a new 163 notice and just giving the opportunity for a full redevelopment. I know that it's going to be a higher cost, but if the end user is worth the investment and we're able to come to an agreement based on the numbers, it would all be based on that future review anyway. So just wanted to make sure that we were considering all those options before we put the roof on.
Very good. Appreciate that. Thank you. Any further questions or comments from the board? Yes, Board Member Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. That was my first question when we had our updates because I also see a lot of rooftops there. I do understand the additional costs, and then the other thing that I didn't even take into consideration is once you're up there, you do have single-family, one-story residential right behind, so that is not the best location for us to consider that either. But definitely for future ones that we continue to think of that, the sunsets and everything, I just think that that would add a whole nother extra piece to any of the things that we do downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chair, no. Board Member Cannonball, anything further? No? Good. All right, did I hear a motion? Yep. All right, so it's moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by Board Member Cannonball. Open the public hearing. All right, we'll close the public hearing. So we have a motion to approve. So we need a roll call on this one.
Board Member Cannonball? Board Member Roth?
Yes.
Board Member Avila?
Yes.
Board Member Bailey?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fletcher?
Yes.
Chairman Losner?
Yes,
The motion carries.
thank you. All right, and tab 3 is car number 4324. It's the redevelopment of that parcel located at 204, 220, and 230 North Chrome Avenue. Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the board is well aware, at our last CRA board meeting, you directed staff to bring back a best and final offer from Society 8 in an attempt to bring our return on investment on this property to a higher level. Unfortunately, we were not able to come to terms on such an agreement. So tonight, we will be asking the board for a motion authorizing the executive director to resolicit for additional proposals for the acquisition and development of these 3 parcels at 204, 220, and 230 North Chrome Avenue as a destination food hall, restaurant, and/or entertainment venue. We believe that this still remains a promising strategy to eliminate slum and blight in the CRA and to provide annual revenues to the CRA while contributing to the overall economic health and well-being of downtown Homestead. If there's any additional requirements or requests that you would like to provide as far as the advertising or what uses for this building, we'll be happy to take those tonight as well.
Very good. And I think in that regard for myself, well, I have two questions. I think that we've all come to the realization that we need to be casting a wider net. I don't know how wide the net was that we cast under the prior administration and prior director. I'm confident that you and the manager will fish a little wider and deeper this time. And secondly, I'd like the opportunity, and I assume council members would like to see the opportunity to just review and make individual comments to you in short order as to, other potential language or uses to be inserted into the advertisement. So that can be circulated quickly and just, informally solicit individually. Any comments? I'm ready to do that.
Yes, we can definitely
Subject to
circulate the
that.
draft of the notice.
All right, very good. Vice Chair.
Yeah, not particularly pertaining these individual buildings, but the parking lot that we've been talking about behind it. When can we start moving forward on getting that done? I think we should start that sooner rather than later to get that parking available for the tenants downtown.
Yes, sir. CRA staff has already retained the design consultant for the development of those lots as the parking. I don't have the timeline on that in front of me, but I'll be happy to advise after the meeting.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's an issue that I also raised in our briefing here. All right, anything further? All right, so you just need some direction from us to go forward with the re-advertising subject to the conversation here tonight?
Yes, sir.
I think you have 6 heads, 5 nodding in agreement.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anything further?
No, Mr. Chair.
Any general public comments regarding the CRA? Public comment regarding any CRA issues? Seeing none then, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, let's move into, as soon as the clerk's ready, the LPA meeting.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
I hear
Yes,
you.
thank you, Councilman Davis.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
All right, Madam Clerk, you ready to go forward with the LPA? Well, good evening again, everyone. It is still Wednesday, July 17th, 2024, and it is 5:31 p.m. I'd like to call the local planning agency meeting to order. Let's have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Roth,
Here.
Board Member Davis,
Here.
Board Member Bailey, Board Member Avila,
Here.
Board Member Cannavale, Vice Chairman Fletcher,
Here.
Chairman Losner,
Here.
Ex officio Ventura,
Here.
Good. Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals tonight on this agenda? All right, our first item is the approval of the minutes of May 22nd. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? May 22nd, moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Cannavale. All in favor? Any opposed? Mr.
Aye.
White?
No.
Okay. Next on my agenda is the quasi-judicial. Okay. So, no, it's time for you to do your quasi-judicial speech.
Well, I don't believe we have any quasi-judicial. We
okay.
just have one legislative item this
okay,
evening.
very good. All right, so moving on to tab 2. Go ahead, Ms.
Yes, for consideration this evening, this is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code of ordinances by creating section 30-554, exception for existing schools, to Article 5, non-conforming lots, uses, and structures, to allow certain expansion exceptions in whole or in part within a property or onto adjacent property, contiguous property, or a property separated by a public street, alley, right-of-way, not already containing such use, to existing schools having already received site plan approval pursuant to Section 3047 of the City Code, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Good, thank you. Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is our LPA. We'll be hearing this again at the council meeting following this, so you have to do that over again. Again, we are recommending that the mayor and council consider this request for a code amendment to Chapter 30. What's happening in here is we're effectively amending Section 30-554, special exception for existing schools. What we're saying is that existing schools that are in this certain area, the certain area is bound by Northeast 11th Street to the north, Southwest 328th Street to the south, US 1 to the east, and Chrome Avenue to the west. Schools in that area will be able to expand onto an adjacent property, contiguous property, or property separated by public street, alley, or right-of-way, not already containing such a use. And the schools would have to exist already to do that. So there are, I believe, a handful of schools in that area. I believe there are 5 schools within that district. This is a school that's being, application being made by one of the schools and specifically. It's not, we don't know if the other schools meet this criteria or not being, having a lot next to them they can expand in. But either way, we're recommending you consider that. It's a policy decision, and we're here to answer any questions if you need to ask them.
Very good, thank you. Now, as we can't start our council meeting until 6, it's been suggested that perhaps we go ahead and, as this is the only agenda item, just go ahead and hash out any issues we have at this meeting rather than at the council meeting. Initial questions or comments on this item? I had a concern, and I've spoken with the applicant's representative about the language that includes in the definition of adjacent or contiguous any property that is across a right-of-way. I could foresee where that opens a whole other Pandora's box or a can of worms of unintended expansions. And, you know, to go forward, I would like to see us remove that provision to remove right away. It's got to be truly contiguous or adjacent, and so remove that. Any comments there? We have. So, Mr. Attorney, do you need that by a formal motion or just some? Okay. All
Yes,
right.
Mayor, if we could do that, and then that will just carry over for the council meeting.
All right. So do we have a motion to that effect to amend it by removing the right-of-way provisions? All right, moved by Councilman Cannonball, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. All right, is there anyone wishing to comment on this matter in the public? All right, I'll close the public hearing. We have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call.
Board Member Ross? Board Member Davis?
Yes.
Board Member Avila?
Yes.
Board Member Cannonball? Board Member Bailey? Vice Chairman Fletcher?
Yes.
Chairman Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any general public comment regarding development services? Okay, any further business, Mr. Corradino?
No, sir.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Attorney? Nothing further from this board sitting as the agency. So do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Cannonball, seconded by Bailey. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Yes. Councilwoman? Got to be fast. Or was that an aye? All right.
That was an aye.
Okay.
Let's adjourn.
Do we have the ability to go ahead and have the presentation, or do we need to adjourn or convene the council meeting, the legislative presentation? Could we go ahead and go forward with that without convening the council meeting?
No, you have to convene the council meeting, or you can, so we're kind of stuck for the next 20 minutes.
All right, so we're dead air for 20 minutes. Sorry, guys, but thank you. Okay, so we'll be back in 20 minutes. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Today is Wednesday, July 17th, 2024, and it is now 6:02 p.m. I'd like to call the City of Homestead City Council meeting to order. This evening, we'll have the invocation by Reverend Michael Stiles, pastor of the St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Vice Mayor Fletcher and the Homestead Police Explorers. Would you please stand?
Eternal Father, we come unto you at this time and this hour, first of all, to say thank you for allowing us to be good stewards over what you have entrusted us with. As we, Father God, go into this meeting, we ask for your Spirit to be within each and every one of us. As we, Father God, say thank you for allowing us this opportunity to serve in this great city. We look towards you, Father God, for guidance, protection, but not just that, to be great in our government here in the city of Homestead. We give you praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' mighty name, we do pray. Amen.
Thank you.
On guard. Hold. Right. Face. Reset. On.
Will you please join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Left. Face. Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. Right.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth,
Here.
Councilman Davis,
Here.
Councilwoman Avila,
Here.
Councilwoman Bailey, Councilman Cannonball, Vice Mayor Fletcher,
Here.
Mayor Losner.
Here. All right, thank you. All right, I will now open the floor to general public comments, not comments with respect to specific agenda items, but general public comments. It doesn't appear that anyone registered ahead of time, but sir, come on down and give us your name and address for the record, and we'll put you on a 3-minute time clock.
All right, thank you. Jose Herrera, 2332 Southeast 16th Terrace. I'm coming here. I know you guys can't help because it's a bigger matter, but I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on in the community right now. I'm a girls lacrosse coach. I raised, and I started teaching last year. It was my first year teaching at Everglades Prep Academy. I was a businessman. I sold my business of 8 years, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give back and go teach. I noticed first thing, the computers in my kids' classroom were from 2009. My background is in fundraising, have a lot of business contact, talked to the principal, can I get 35 computers? She said yes. Go through Donors Choose, which is a format of people just donating, and then Donors Choose buys the computer and they bring it to the school. I raised $15,000 in 10 hours. Got back, told the principal, she said congratulations. 2 days later, she goes, no, we don't want the computers, we want the money. The computer stayed in her office until December. I had to file a very serious report against the school that I helped another female student file. That was never, I got fired 3 days later after I reported that. I contacted Homestead Police right after I got fired to tell them of the report so they can follow up. I have not heard, even though I've asked them numerous times, hey, what have you heard about this? The school, I do ask the chief of police to please go to the school and do a code enforcement check. There are things in the field that are not up to code, and it's very dangerous. Now, the big thing is that the school will not release $4,000 of the Donors Choose money because I asked Donors Choose and the school if we can please use it for girls lacrosse, a free program for our kids. To date, today, I have 8 girls and 3 boys playing lacrosse at Roscoe Field. I have insurance, I have an AED machine, and I'm teaching these girls how to play lacrosse. They come to me 3 times a day for free. Mr. Lawson, I believe you wanted more programs in the community. I'm doing it for free. And now this company and the school is not being held accountable. No one knows what to do. I don't know what to do. There's $4,000 that we're keeping from black and brown girls in our community from having free equipment. We're keeping that because a school wants to be petty and not write a little letter to Donors Choose. We grant Mr. Herrera, and guess what? 3 of their students play for me because they don't have a lacrosse program. So my goal is to build a girls lacrosse program for all of the schools because we can do that now. We can do that. We can share resources, right? Let's share, let's be smart. Let's hold people accountable. I know you guys say that all the time. Also, Brandy Ramirez bought us lunch during the elections.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to make a general public comment? All right, is there anyone online? All right, so I will close the public comment portion of the agenda. Mr. Manager, are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
None, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, next is tab 1. We have a presentation tonight. We're privileged to have with us, they were here earlier, they left. Our homestead is blessed to be represented by 2 members of the Florida House of Representatives, and in alphabetical order, we're joined tonight by Kevin Chambliss and Jim Mooney, who are here to give us an update on the last legislative session and maybe a sneak peek about what the flavor of the day will be in the session early next year. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, citizens. Really appreciate this opportunity. Again, I am State Representative Kevin Chambliss. I represent Florida House District 117. I am also the Vice Chair of the Miami-Dade Legislative Delegation. And so in the absence of our Chair, Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez, again, we thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight, or this evening. But first, sir, I was talking to Rep. Mooney. If I could take a point of privilege and request a moment of silence for the individual that was killed during the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump, and also praying for President Trump's family. I could only imagine what my wife would be going through if I almost got hit by a bullet because of my public service, the sacrifice that it already takes on our family. So, Mayor, if you would allow me, I'd ask for a moment of silence for that. Thank you, sir. With that being said, did you want to? Cool. Then we're over here tossing quarters to see who's going to go first. So if we could allow Rep. Mooney to go first, and then I'm going to follow up. Mr. Fuentes will fill in the blank of whatever we miss. We also have the staff member of Senator Ana Maria, who is here in her absence, that wants to make sure that he mentions some highlights as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, staff, it's great to be here. Representative Jim Mooney, representing House District 120, along with my partner here, Kevin, in the 119 district, I believe. And he's an amazing man, and I'm blessed to work with him in Tallahassee. You know, this year was a very interesting year in Tallahassee. It wasn't quite as dynamic. We didn't have 4,000 bills for the first time in my 4 years in Tallahassee. We only had just under 2,000 bills to review, which is still quite insane. But, you know, one of the biggest bills that I personally fought behind closed doors on was the vacation rental bill. That particular assault on home rule was coming out of the Florida Keys. You know, vacation rentals are big, but they've become quite the nuisance in all the neighborhoods. It's one of the things you hear as a representative. I'm sure you hear it as council members and mayor, that what's going on in the neighborhoods. Well, this was going to open Pandora's box. It was going to have 7 people in Tallahassee be in charge of roughly 500,000 vacation rentals. Now, I'm pretty sure that math wasn't going to work out well. And the nuances within that bill were, at best, horrible. And I understand the bill sponsor thought they were doing the right thing. But it was one of the closest votes on the floor. And I would tell you that behind closed doors, myself and a number of other, including Representative Chambliss and Representative Fine out of the Merritt Island area, I mean, we were beating the bushes to kill this bill. And I found out this year for the first time, killing bills is actually sort of fun when they really matter. It's like killing a bad ordinance that would potentially hurt you. But you know, thanks to the governor, he did veto that bill. Unfortunately, I'm sure it will come back again next year because it's come back for my first 4 years, and I know my predecessor probably dealt with it for other times. But that particular bill was probably the single most important bill that we defeated this year when it comes to particularly home rule. On another front, workforce housing is always at the top of the list. The senator is not here, unfortunately, tonight, and she could expound on 1239. That was her baby. She worked hard with Senator Rodriguez and the Senate President to pass 1239 and get it put into law. It has a lot of components to it. If you're really bored one night, you should read it. It's pretty in-depth, but it's actually thing. And thirdly, the topic of all topics is insurance in Tallahassee. It is the gorilla in the china shop. We ran some bills. I ran a freestanding bill, unfortunately did not get heard, was pretty much squashed from the get-go. Trying to, people think that in the Keys and that we're all different. No, we're all the same. Insurance is killing us across the state. But Dade County and Monroe County are the two highest forms of torture when it comes to how much we pay in insurance, and particularly the commercial industry. Commercial industry, where my office is at, Mr. Maz couldn't get windstorm on his building. That's unacceptable. So I had to introduce the bill to increase the rate, increase the valuations from $1 million to $1.3 million, and from $750,000 to $1 million. As you know, many homes in Dade County now don't have to be in the water to be worth $1 million, and now they're stuck without insurance. Also, last year a bill was run where if you had citizens windstorm, you had to carry contents coverage. You had to have flood insurance, and you had to carry contents coverage. Well, nobody saw what FEMA did to us. That particular bill triggered 2.0 in the FEMA flood world. So if you had an existing existing flood policy, then adding contents to it triggered a new policy, which threw you into a higher bracket immediately. And I'll use myself as an example. My flood right now is $5,000 a year, just under $4,900. But if I had to add contents to it, would have been $18,000. Now, I was fortunate my policy didn't come to renew until upcoming soon. So I had an opportunity to avoid that disaster. But so that was part of my bill. It did get put into the big insurance bill. So we got the contents covered removed. Next, we'll work on anything built above the floodplain so you don't have to carry flood insurance at all. Certainly, if you want to, you can. But being mandatory is when you're following code, you shouldn't be punished for following codes. And that's my personal opinion on that, because as a former mayor in Alamorada, I know what you guys hear every day. I understand it, and you're getting beat up on things you can't control, and the federal government, quite honestly, doesn't listen to many of us at all. But insurance was one thing, and I will tell you that the incoming Speaker Designate Daniel Perez will work as hard as he can to fix insurance. He has made it his goal to knock on every door and not hear the word insurance when he knocks on it after he's done. Another thing that I don't know how it affected you, but I ran a bill, go back 3 years ago, HB 735. It was an innocuous kind of bill. Everybody thought it was going to be good. It was a specialty license bill. For anybody who understands, I'm a drywaller. I got a specialty license. I've been in business for 20 years. We thought that was just going to allow for one specialty license to move across the county. So I work in Homestead, I work in Florida City, I work in Coral Gables under one license. It didn't turn out like that. It turned out where cities and counties decided to really bear down on these license guys. So I ran a bill last year, couldn't quite get it statewide, got it back on track in the area of critical state concern because of the nuances required in the building code in Monroe County. This year, leadership asked me to run that bill again, along with Senator Hooper, to try and get these specialty licenses back where they belong, and allowing cities and counties to do what they want to do with licenses, not having the states tell you what you're going to do. It's not necessarily a cash cow for all of you guys, but what it is insurance policy. And I had somebody say, anybody can paint a house. They're absolutely correct. But who's painting your house? Do they have a criminal background? We don't know. And now that the specialty license has been removed, you don't really know who's painting your house in theory. So we're working on that still. I'm not sure I'll carry that bill for next year. But unfortunately, at the last day, the Senate decided to turn and kick the can down the road again for another year. So if you have any issues with specialty license in Homestead, I encourage you to reach out to the Department of Professional Regulations and talk to them, because they're looking for input at how it affects you. And it's critical. You're talking about people's lives and livelihoods. And there's something to be said when you say licensed and insured for 20 years or 15 years. It's a value to that. And it's not a value monetary, it's a value to your heart. So when you think about that, that's, again, focusing. I honestly would love to have you guys ask me to run something for you. I told the mayor of Dade County the same thing. Give Representative Shambles and I something to do because we still have plenty of spare time up there. But, you know, and of course, lastly, the biggest sadness was the veto of the $1 million septic to sewer. That was completely not expected. I will tell you that your lobby team was spot on in our office. We worked together. And sadly enough, though, across the state, we saw numerous septic to sewer and numerous stormwater runoff projects vetoed. I haven't quite wrapped my hands around why that would be, given the fact that we were dumping $850 million into the Everglades. It seems sort of silly to not stop it upstream. But that said, you know, the governor does what the governor does with the red pen, and that's sort of out of our hands. But I will tell you that everybody in Miami-Dade delegation that represents Homestead was right there with you the entire time. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to field them.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you all for being here and updating us. You talked about the insurance, and you talked about, I think, raising coverage limits from $1 million to whatever it was.
$1.3 million.
But I think at the end of the day, it's more about the premiums that we're paying on insurance. I'll just use my home as an example. Modest 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot home. Was paying $4,200 a year for insurance, which was only windstorm and property and casualty. We were not required to carry flood. This year I get a notification that my insurance is going to $5,600 from $4,200. So seeing that, I was extremely upset. And I called my agent and I said, I know it's not something you can control or handle, but what can we do to reduce the premiums? And I said, let's look at deductibles, let's look at certain things. And through that exercise, I was able to get my premiums back down below what I was paying last year, although I gave up a bunch of coverage, right? If we get a catastrophic storm through here, it may cost me more out of pocket than it would have normally. So I think we need to focus on whatever it is that can drive premiums back down for the residents. All I'm talking about is Miami-Dade County. What happens in the Keys is another thing, and I own a property down there as well, and it kills me with insurance down there. But that's where we need some relief. You know, that, and you guys can't control the cost when it comes to property taxes. But if you look at some of the examples of people who lived in their homes for 6, 7, 8 years, their property tax levels may be at $3,000 or $4,000, depending on the type of house. But the resale and the reappraisals of those properties are taking those property taxes from that $4,000 note to $10,000 per year. So, you know, and I'm stepping way out from what you guys are updating. I just want to put it in guys that are going to Tallahassee and lobbying for us, that if you talk about affordable housing, and you mentioned that a little bit down, you know, in your area, that you're trying to build and create more affordable housing, it's nearly going to be impossible to do and create housing with those types of expenses on top of it. Taxes and insurance premiums. So I'm just throwing that out there so that you understand and you feel, and I'm sure you feel the pain too. You talked about your insurance going up to $18,000 or whatever it was, that this is where we really need to focus on the cost of these two items. Obviously, you're not in the county. We'll have to figure that out with the county, but especially insurance legislation, because that comes out of Tallahassee, and what they can do and what they can charge us, I think is what we need to focus on, because it just is becoming unaffordable down here.
Yep, and I can address a couple of those issues. Actually, you sort of hit the nail on the head, the cost. So when it comes to the mitigation side, you know, my Safe Florida home opens up this week, I believe. And that's a program where you can get up to $10,000 to harden your home. So people who don't have impact windows, the state will partner with you to improve your home and strengthen it. That helps. But it's certainly not the answer. But by using these programs, showing the insurance companies that we're actually trying to say, here's what we're doing to protect you as well as ourselves, because at the end of the day, listen, they're in the business of making money, and nobody doubts that. That's what they do. And I don't think anybody begrudges people for making money. When it comes to the valuation, though, Citizens, wouldn't cover anything over $1 million, so you're going to probably end up with a higher policy premium anyway. So that was part of the impetus for going to 1.3 to allowing these homes to still be able to stay in Citizens, albeit it's still not a perfect number by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly better than some of the other carriers that really pound you. Now, the flip side is, and here's after 4 years, Speaker Sprouls said 18 months, we start to see something with the roof issues that we fixed. Sure enough, about the 24th month, you start to see less fraud. Last year, we passed a tort reform bill that absolutely told the industry who knocks on your door, the assignment of benefits, that game is officially over. You're no longer to do assignment of benefits. All of that was fraud. I mean, right now, today, last I looked, Dade County has more lawsuits from Hurricane Ian than the southwest coast of Florida. And I don't believe we got hit that hard in Dade County. That's part of the huge problem. Then I'll go ahead to the other shining side of it, is that we have 8 companies this year that ask for a rate reduction. That will probably come at the end of this year. 10 companies asked for no increase. So there's 18 companies that basically stayed neutral or helped us. There's also in the portal up to, I believe, 13 new companies ready to step into the state of Florida. All of that is directly correlated to some of the reforms, particularly tort reform. That seems to be the largest single source of the insurance world saying, hey, you guys are showing us something. We no longer want to go to a state that's litigious. There was a bill that was postured this year by Representative Casal and Representative I'll think of his name in a second, out of Fort Myers, and that was that Citizens would be the only windstorm carrier in the state of Florida, and everything else would be covered through private industry. That met with failure. But oddly enough, and last I heard, nobody can remember the last time, 2 representatives, Rep. Roach, by the way, is his name. He's now no longer representative, he stepped down. But they were allowed to do a presentation in a committee. That's unheard of. Representatives don't do presentations on bills that never got moved. So the fact that they opened that can up, Representative Casal, I think she's the single smartest person on the floor when it comes to insurance. She's an attorney who represents us, not the industry. But I did have the 6 of the largest insurers in the country in my office. And when they heard about that particular bill, we discussed it. They liked it because they know that if I go to the mayor's house and I slip and break my leg and I sue the mayor, it's going to cost $25,000 to give me a cast. They know that. They know what it's going to cost to rebuild a house that burned down. They know how many houses burned down. So they can keep all of their particular costs in a square. But when it comes to wind, it's a free-for-all, and therein lies the fear factor. So I hear you loudly. I promise you that. And if anybody, I encourage everybody in this room, if you have an idea, please forward it to Rep. Chambliss, myself, to the mayor. I'm sure we'll get it. But there's no such thing as a bad idea when it comes to insurance, because I've had some pretty wild emails so far show up, and some of them are not that far-fetched. And there's certainly, again, there's no such thing as a bad idea, because if we don't figure out how to get out of this box we've been in for decades, and of course, the inflation's not helping. The cost to rebuild your house is exponentially higher. Just, lumber, concrete, steel, copper, everything it takes to build a house. It's going to be impossible to lower things unless we show. And of course, I have said many times on the floor, if the rest of the state doesn't step up to the Miami-Dade code or exceed it, then we're not showing the insurance companies we mean business. We cannot continue to build in what they call the low wind zone areas within the state. They need to build the same as we do in Dade County, regardless of how far they are from the water. Flooding is one thing, but so there's so many facets to the insurance industry. But I believe that we're still on track. It's just going to be it's going to zigzag a little bit. It's not going to be a straight line to the finish line. But I trust in the system that we're doing the right things, and again, I know that Representative and soon-to-be Speaker Danny will be on it. Trust me, Danny he's at the mindset he'll do it. And again, I know the DADE delegation is right here supporting everything that you guys believe in, and all of us again feel the pain. So, any other questions?
I just want to say very, very quickly, you know, the members that represent the areas, the city of Homestead, Ana Maria Rodriguez, Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez, Representative Kevin Chambliss, and Representative Jim Mooney. One of the things that I am really impressed is the fact that their doors are always open. This type of conversation that you're hearing from Jim Mooney is the same one I have with him every time I go into his office. So he spends time on the issue, and he makes sure that, like Kevin and like Ana Maria, that Homestead is well represented. Ana Maria always has her doors open to us. We spend more time in her office. I know she has one of her local legislative folks here with us as well. So we really do appreciate that. I just want to bring up a very important point. We already started working with the manager in the process to prepare for the upcoming session. Both Representative Mooney, Chambliss, and Senator Rodriguez are making themselves available so that we are prepared next year, and we start to meet with departments as well as the members themselves. So we're very fortunate, and they deserve a big round of applause because they get, Senator Rodriguez has hundreds of appropriations, but her focus is laser focused on Homestead, and we really do appreciate that, as well as Representative Chambliss and Representative Mooney. His aide, Lee, we spend so much time with her, I think she just has decided to make a little cubbyhole for us sometimes in her office, so, but we appreciate that.
Thank you, guys. So I'd like to, talk about some of the positive things that happened that might have been of interest to residents in and around the Homestead area. There were several veteran-friendly bills. As we know, we are a veteran-friendly community. I call it a military community, and we take a lot of pride in it. And so I just wanted to mention a couple of them and kind of briefly talk about what they do. And then there's one that actually directly impacts economic development in this area around Homestead Air Reserve Base. So HB 725 was the Veterans Long-Term Care Facility admissions. This expands the eligibility requirements for admittance into the state-offered Veterans Domiciliary Home of Florida, which that's the state institution that services our veterans and their family members as they enter their golden years. And so we expanded the admissions there. And then HB 1329 created the Florida Veterans History Program with the intention of making sure that we preserve the history and the impact that Florida veterans have had, not only on the military, but also on their local community. One of the things, we disagree on a lot of things, but the one thing, that's the only thing, but one of the great things that we agree upon in the state legislature is that we all want Florida to be the most veteran-friendly state in these United States. And I can say every year we take multiple steps closer to making that a reality. And I think that that's something that this particular community could appreciate. Now, when it comes to economic development, there was an interesting bill that Senator Coladiu, who comes all the way down to the Homestead Air Reserve Base and then goes north of us. She sponsored this in the Senate, but it directly affects future economic development opportunities for us here in and around the Homestead Air Reserve Base. This is SB 969. It is called the Spaceport Territory. This was a crucial bill. I was happy to co-sponsor it. What it does is it expands spaceport territory to include land that was formerly within the boundaries of the Homestead Air Force Base, and also expands the scope of spaceport discretionary capacity improvement projects to include projects that enhance the capacity for space transportation, and then it allows the Florida Department of Transportation to fund these projects. Let me break it down. Now, it allows the Homestead Air Reserve Base to create projects. So there used to be a requirement to where you have to be a rocket zone, basically, in order to fit under this category. That requirement is no longer the case, and Homestead Air Reserve Base and lands in and around it were included. This will allow for the companies that come here, for whether it's manufacturing, distribution. This will allow them better capacity to transport their goods and services under this particular scenario. And this was an economic development bill that snuck in that was very, very crucial to this particular community. Moving forward, we've already heard some of the legislative concerns. Me and the manager have talked about rock blasting. We know that there are some other issues that are coming up here that we will begin to take on. But just know, and I think that every time we get before you, or I hope that you hear this tune that we sing, that's very true. When we're in Tallahassee, we work as one. There is no mention of party. We don't even pay attention to our party affiliations. If it's something that services South Dade, if it's something that services the Homestead, Florida City area, we work on it as one. It becomes our priority. And that particular strategy has allowed us to be sort of successful and productive in making sure that we're putting the community before party politics. And I'm happy to say that. Then last but not least, I have been working to make sure that, you know, when people are being released from prison, that they have the best opportunities at employment that they can have. One of the bills that we were able to push made it all the way to the governor's desk, and then what happened was the governor vetoed it. And someone said, Kevin, were you upset that the governor vetoed it? I said, no. The governor gave me an opinion on it, and we're working with his office to try to make sure that we can adjust our language to match what his vision of that is. In this process, you have to be patient. You have to be patient, and you have to be in it for the long term, and that's one of the things that you see us do. And then last but not least, we were able to successfully bring some money to the local areas for Florida City, but I think we all would appreciate making sure that Florida City Police Department has more resources, and we were able to accomplish that in this legislative session. It's the first state appropriation that they have had in almost over a decade. And so that's something that we can all be proud of, and that is my report. I can take questions now or later.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council? Representative Chambliss. No?
Y'all are so nice.
Thank you. Appreciate the details.
Good evening, Council. My name is Sebastian Koji. I'm a Legislative Aide for Senator Anna Rodriguez. She represents Senate District 40, which is Miami-Dade and all of Monroe County. Just to give you a quick recap of what we had going on this past legislative session. We had 7 bills passed, very important bills. I cannot express how each bill is significantly more important than the next one to the senator. Every project of hers, she makes sure she has eyes all over her at all times, and it means a lot to her when she passes a bill successfully through both the Senate and House chamber. We had 30 appropriations passed, about $47 million in appropriations for Miami-Dade and Monroe County. As Representative Chambliss said, the first Florida City appropriation in a long time, and it was a very big appropriation to get through both sides because it just makes a snowball effect for momentum to come and more money coming from Florida City. Other than that, I just thank you guys for your time today, taking time to listen to us and the DADE delegation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How much money did she bring home in all?
Oh, yeah. $47.5 million. Thank you.
Brought back to the Senate District. Amazing. Again, thank you all. Appreciate you being down here with us tonight. We look forward to the next session. Thank you all. All right. Yes. We've got the, on here we've got the ARPA presentation. Mr. Manager?
So, Mr. Mayor, we have a presentation of the city's ARPA funds. I'm asking ACM Kumar Brown to give us a quick and a high-level presentation profile of what we intend to do. There are quite a few projects that we feel comfortable to proceed, and there are quite other projects that have been previously been appropriated by this council that will need some redirection because we feel that city's priorities have changed, especially with the sewer moratorium that we are facing today. we need to kind of move funds around to enable us move some of those projects forward, with the understanding that the city has a commitment period that ends in December 31st of 2024, based on the ARPA fund regulations. We do have a number of pump stations that are under a moratorium. In the past 60 days, we've successfully moved 2 of them out of the moratorium. Pump stations 15 and 46 are no longer under a moratorium. Thanks to the effort of staff and myself, we are frantically looking towards addressing the remaining pump stations if council will allow us to move these funds around. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good afternoon, Council. I'd like to start with just a very big picture. As a reminder, the Council or the City of Homestead received about $19 million back in May 2021, if I'm recalling correctly. To date, we have spent about $8.3 million across all the projects. As the manager mentioned, I'm going to go pretty quickly and then reserve time for the council to make any inquiries regarding the projects and the reallocations. The premium pay project is considered complete. Our Magic Camp initiative is also complete. The vaccine incentive initiative is complete. The CRA Triangle property revitalization, so this involved the purchase of parcels, is partially complete. There's an expenditure of 4.9 that has already taken place, and we have a remaining balance of a little bit over $1 million. Our Homestead Regional Park Phase 1, which is design, is partial, well, it's in progress. We're about 60% with the construction drawings, and we have, the last bullet is dollars reallocated. We have reallocated about $349,400 to later projects for us to discuss. Solid waste vehicles, we are in progress. We anticipate receiving the final 2 vehicles by the end of October. But I think as of this week, July 15th, we were able to update and pay invoices for the vehicles. Our Chrome Avenue corridor rezoning, there were 2 applicants that availed themselves of the rezoning opportunities, and we have an anticipated 2 additional applicants that has expressed interest, but we are waiting for confirmation. To that end, we anticipate that we would be able to reallocate $116,500 back into the pot for reallocation. Our mobile command center renovation is complete. Our electric AMI smart meters is also complete. Our police IT department underground fiber loop replacement, which was an aged, about 2 decades aged infrastructure, is partially complete. We have our business incentive program. It is in progress. Our commercial enhancement, which is the business enhancement was within the CRA. The commercial enhancement expanded the opportunities right outside of the CRA, and it is still in progress. And then, as the manager mentioned, there were 2 infrastructure projects, our water meter replacement and our septic to sewer, that it is the administration's recommendation to reprioritize those funds to address the moratorium issue. Now, so that is a general update of the projects and the movement, right? So we've spent about 8.3 so far. Now I'd like to bring your attention to dollars that we need to reallocate. We have developed a listing of proposed projects for your consideration. So we need to reallocate about $7.8 million. And the 2 dates that's very important for us to remember following this presentation is December 31st, 2024, which means all of the dollars that are ARPA related must be encumbered by the end of the year. The second date is December 31st, 2026, which calls for all of the projects that have been outlined here or projects that the council will proffer through this conversation must be completed, right? So 31st, we need to make sure there's a contract in hand of this year, and December 31st, 2026, all projects must be completed. So with that, we have categorized the newly proposed projects as a part of infrastructure upgrades. I won't list individual projects, but I want to make sure that you guys are aware that the infrastructure upgrade, the infrastructure, I want to call it project list, comes to about $5.1 million. So that speaks to the waste. There's a 1.3 for a wastewater basins replacement, and that directly addresses Pump Station 22, Pump Station 8, Pump Station 13, Pump Station 24, Pump Station 25, and helping us to get out of the temporary moratorium that we're in. We anticipate the completion being, I think the manager has directed us that it needs to be as January.
December 2024.
December 2024. Miami-Dade County compliance date is July 2025. So our due date is well a year in advance at the direction of the manager. Our Pump Station 22 super bypass. We also have an emergency Pump Station 22 super bypass pump rental. There's some lining that is necessary for our sewer lines. There's a stormwater infrastructure survey that will be a precursor to the city's stormwater master plan. We have a $419,000 allocation for water meter replacement, which is intended to cover about 90% of the annual capital replacement that has been ongoing since 2017, as I understand it. We have about $1 million for the Flagler Avenue gravity sewer. And then there's several another lining initiative. Then there's a heavy equipment and vehicles. So that encompasses our $5.1 million. Then we will move to parks, recreation, and open spaces. We have several improvements that we would like to make to the J.D. Red Park, amounting to about $155,000. Then we will move to the innovation and technology initiatives. We would like to implement the agenda management software for the city, more specifically the clerk. We would like to introduce a citywide permitting software to allow our customers to be able to apply online and essentially facilitate the internal workflows of the city departments that participate in the process. There is the request for an upgrade of our Microsoft Exchange server, as well as an Intra ID, which calls for access management with our IT department. We would also like to replace 33% of our aged workstations and moving into a more mobile-friendly city. So we're looking at monitors, laptops that we are able to work in a mobile manner. Then we will move to our marketing and branding category. We have about $220,854 for the America 250 rollout. We have also slotted the replacement of 4 lighted monument signs to the tune of $88,000. We have an interior and exterior renovation amounting to $600,000. This is the former adult facility that Miami-Dade County occupied that has recently been handed over back to the city, that will serve as our new code compliance Public Works or Parks and Recreation Administration building. We also are proposing the build-out of the elevator and bathroom renovations for the Cybrarium 3rd and 4th floor. And last but certainly not least, we would like to present for the council's consideration a broadband infrastructure initiative that looks to make our parks Wi-Fi enabled, and then also providing Wi-Fi capabilities to persons within our homes within our CRA community. And with that, I'd like to kind of pause and get feedback from the council and return to the manager. Thank you.
So, based on this presentation, we do have a combination of capital projects as well as some programming that will address citizens' needs. For the first time in the city, it's our intention to make all our city parks to be Wi-Fi enabled, so that our kids that are there playing can have access to the internet. Either they bring their homework to the parks while they're waiting for their turn to use the parks, or they can use their devices to get access to the internet based on controls that will be placed so that they don't go around wandering around on the internet. So with that, we're asking for your permission to do the deallocation and reallocations and to come back to council in a future meeting with actual resolution. We would like to leave you with this presentation. Feel free to have us come back to each of you to walk through the various items for refinement. Thanks.
Very good. Any initial comments or questions from council? Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, a really big kudos to staff. I mean, just thinking back to when we first received these funds and how uncertain those times were, and we weren't sure what we could do with it, just being able to hear the decisions that were made. I think it was all, they were all really good ideas. I'm definitely a big proponent to have Wi-Fi in the parks. I don't know why I never thought that we didn't, and it actually just came up a few weeks ago for me. And I was like, no, of course there has to be Wi-Fi in the parks. So I love that idea, and just again, another big thank you to staff. I know that that it was really tough to be able to put all of that in order. I'm sure that you've already looked at the projects that we are still pending, and we make sure that we can move those funds over if that project isn't able to be completed by December 31st, that we've got something to fall back on. I'm sure you are already on that, but just thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you. And I too want to thank the staff for going through and giving us a good outline and detail of where the money's been spent and where we need to spend it. I do have a couple of concerns in regards to how we're spending some of this money. So if we could go back to your slide or in your thoughts regarding the sports complex and the upgrades there. You want to reallocate some of those funds, and then I want to go, and then at the same time, we're talking about spending several $100,000s to upgrade the 3rd and 4th floor of the Cybrarium, and I don't know that there's been a call for the use of those facilities as at this point in time. So I would rather focus on, the ball that all of us looked at one point and say, let's focus on the sports complex. That's going to be a community area that can really benefit the entire city of Homestead. So I just ask that we take a look at that and ensure that we're spending those monies in the right areas. As far as the commercial enhancement grants, we had $250,000, I believe.
Can you repeat that, Mr.?
The community enhancement grants.
We have $250,000.
$250,000 there. How long has that been offered to the community? Have we advertised that to the community?
So I'd like to maybe ask my colleague to speak to that.
Yes, so at this time, the program has not been advertised to the public. We were working through some internal challenges as far as the grant agreements and processes. However, with the management direction and with council's buy-in, we would be happy to fast track this. And I believe within that area, we should be able to get those grantees qualified and awarded quickly.
Okay, so I think that's a great opportunity for some of our local businesses to redo the facades of their buildings. But I'm just going to stick on that park project. We have to maintain our eyes on that ball.
Mr. Vice Mayor, may I explain for a moment? Do you want to do it, Zeri?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
The Vice Mayor, all we are asking for the sports complex is to reallocate $349,000 only. The original phase one design of the sports complex is in place, is progressing. It's already been encumbered up to, I believe, $660,000. A consultant is already doing the design work. It's the remaining funds that we're asking for permission to move it. We feel very strongly that the moratorium on sanitary sewer in the city is the biggest challenge this city has today.
No doubt about that, but then I would offer that you look at the Cybrarium funds in lieu of.
So additionally,
The Cybrarium funds, this
For the
is
build-out
one
of the third,
iconic
fourth floor.
facility that we have in the city that has remained vacant, unoccupied, not yielding any revenue for close to 4 to 5 years.
Well, Chrome Avenue is unoccupied and not making any money right now, so
So
I think we
we-
need to focus on the community and not that building in specific. We need to focus on the parks. for the
We're
kids of this
taking
community.
into
Thank you.
consideration.
That's all, Mr. Mayor.
may I just give one point of clarity? So Homestead Regional Park, Phase 1, the entire design, the council initially allocated $1.1 million. The design came in at $657. So we had money to essentially reallocate. We anticipate a $93,000 change order coming in for that design. So if let's assume we leave the $349,400 in the sports complex, that money will be essentially unspent by the end of the year. So that is the intent of the reallocation. I hope that provides some clarity.
So I appreciate that information, but I got to look at it from an end user or a private business. You know, if you have that money savings, you look at fast tracking something else to get that project moving faster. I'll leave it at that. You know where I stand.
I know where you stand, Vice
Thank you.
Mayor, and he's taking under advisement. Thanks.
Yes, Councilman Roth.
Mayor?
Yes, we'll hear from Councilman Roth, and then I'll come back to you, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on the Cybrarium allocations. We talk about the property we bought on Chrome Avenue that we just lost a potential business, and we're going to market the plans for that, and to increase the return on investment on that property. I think if we do the Cybrarium project and add the bathrooms, we can begin to market that property as well. And it becomes an asset to the city and begins to funnel revenues into the city that we could use for other projects. So that's just one aspect of this. I think we're going to get an opportunity to look at this again and give input on other thoughts and ideas as well. There was one I thought might be a little, the 250th one. How does that actually comply with the ARPA funds? How are you allowed to use ARPA funds for that?
That expense would be in the revenue loss category, which can be used to fund essentially any traditional government service or government expense. So that's an expense that would normally be borne by our general fund that we would be moving over to the ARPA funds.
Okay. I mean, it's good. It's, you know, because a lot of that, we had a lot of restrictions and things that we had to make sure we complied with when it came to the ARPA funds. But the Cybrarium one, I think, is something that we should continue to move forward with and begin to market those extra stories and get a return on investment with that as well. So that's all. Thank you.
Councilwoman Avila?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank staff for putting together this this presentation. I think Kamar was the one who worked on this. If that's my understanding, and it's very thorough. And I do look forward to having a one-on-one with our city manager so we can go through these items and see, where we can try to, move some pennies, move some funds around to make it make more sense. I agree 100% with Vice Mayor. One of the things that I was looking forward to when we took on the new administration was being able to get the sports complex done faster and more affordably. So I'd like to have, the conversations about that, and maybe we should have a meeting sooner than later to kind of refresh ourselves where we're at with that project. It's super important. Also, just looking over the top of this presentation, $150,000 is not enough to improve JD Red Park. And yes, we need the Wi-Fi there. I too thought we had Wi-Fi. For some reason, I thought that was already addressed in their activity room. But we need to maybe do a walkthrough, Zeri, if you have time to do that with me sometime this month, so we can look at the stands, look at the batting cages, look at just in general. There's a lot of deferred maintenance and a lot of things that need to be addressed. And then, of course, Harris Field, the parks there, the facilities there. I know that we have projects pending, and I know we have funds that probably already allocated in a different pots. So just on our one-on-one, let's have those details ready so we can refresh ourselves, and then I can give you more feedback on this. But thank you in general, and I look forward to seeing these projects completed. And it's very refreshing to have kind of clear, concise direction on how we can use these funds. Like Councilwoman Bailey said, we never really had clear direction on whether we were using these funds in the right categories, and so that's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Davis, do you wish to weigh in?
I have no comment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Now, and I would just look at, and I understand that, the renovations of 653 Southwest 4th. I know we'll sharpen our pencils on that one. We were kind of led to believe by prior staff that in order to get that ready, other than a new roof, in order to get that building ready for code enforcement was not that big a deal. $600,000 is a pretty big deal, and I'm hopeful that that's a way overestimation, and let's value engineer that, as the engineers say, and get code enforcement in whatever department you ultimately decide to move in there with as little reasonable expense as possible. And Vice Mayor, I do agree with you, principle, on the park. $350,000 isn't going to make or break that project. My phrase recently is it's not sexy, and pump stations are not sexy. But I would venture to say that had this staff been in place at the time we had the ARPA funds, this conversation about getting our wastewater system up and running and out of moratorium would have been had at that time and should have been had at that time. So, it's not a lot of flash, but it's certainly necessary for long-term foundational progress in the city to get these pump stations out of moratorium and solve these issues. Talk about deferred maintenance. That's the textbook example of deferred maintenance. So this is just for presentation purposes, and we'll see this again.
That's great, sir.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So we are now on to the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Mr. White.
Yes, moving on to the quasi-judicial section of your agenda. Please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given as due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the counsel to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for that organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-590, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, I'd ask council members to disclose any ex parte communications concerning any of the quasi-judicial items on the agenda. That would be tabs 8, 9, 10, and 11.
I'll disclose 10 and 11. Are we all at 10 and 11 for disclosures? Yeah.
Yes, this is Davis, yes.
All right, so the disclosure is all for items 10 and 11.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd ask anyone in the audience who's wishing to speak this evening on any of the quasi-judicial items, please stand, raise your right hand to be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you hereby swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God? Thank you. You may be seated.
First item is tab 8, card number 4269. It's the resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving a special exception requested by HAYAN ORTEGA for the development of a single-family dwelling unit on an approximately 6,850 square foot parcel within the multiple apartment R3 zoning district, generally located south of Northeast 11th Street, east of Northeast 4th Avenue, with frontage along Northeast 5th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you. At our prior meeting, we did have the staff report on this item that was ultimately deferred. Is there any objection to waiving the staff report again tonight? Do we have any initial questions or comments from council? All right, is there anyone here, other than the applicant, wishing to speak for or against this matter? Is there anyone online? All right, so we'll close the public hearing, and I'll invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to introduce themselves and make any statements you'd like to make in support of this matter. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Council. We intend to build a property in this parcel that is currently under an R3 zoning. The parcel is quite small, it's about 7,000, so we intend to build a single-family home. The property is located between Northeast 4th and 5th Avenue and just south of Northeast 11th Street. We believe that this will help embellish the area. I can tell you that we've been having some issues with neighbors throwing trash in the lot, so I think we can avoid those issues by just building a family home there. So thanks for the opportunity and for hearing our request. Thank you.
Appreciate that, thank you, and understand that we like to see the applicants at least on a first reading or on, if it's a single reading such as this. So that's the only reason for the deferral. I think clearly the commentary last month is single family in place of multifamily anytime. So do we have any questions or comments from council? Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilman Cannonball, seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. All right, if there are no further comments, we'll have a roll call.
Councilman Ross? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilman Cannonball? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for coming.
Moving on to tab 9, car number 4299. It's a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida granting final plat approval as requested by U-Haul Company of Florida for the development of a 121,090 square foot self-storage facility on an approximately 4.18 acre parcel of land, generally located on the northeast corner of Southeast 18th Avenue and Southwest 320th Street, Maui Drive, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Good, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? Is there anyone here other than the applicant's representative who wishes to speak on this matter? All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Lauren Kahn with offices at 1450 Brickell Avenue, Bills and Sundberg. I'm joined by my colleague, Carlos Markovich, as well as Crismel Alvarez, who's from ownership. We're here before you on the final plat for a property that's located at Southeast 18th Avenue and Southwest 320th Street. The tentative plat was approved by council. Your code requires us to come back when we have the final plat, so that's what we're here for. We respectfully request your approval of this plat. What's being proposed to be constructed here is a self-storage facility. If we're available if you have any questions.
Very good, thank you. Any final questions? And for the record, we'll waive the staff report on this final plat. So do we have a motion to approve the final plat for the U-Haul facility? Moved by Councilman Ross, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. A roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Cannonball? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Lawson?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to tab 10, car number 4298. It's a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida granting final plat approval as requested by D.R. Horton, Inc. for the development of a 69 dwelling unit residential townhome subdivision on an approximately 8.63 acre parcel of land, generally on the southwest corner of Southwest 162nd Avenue and East Maui Drive, as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for an effective date.
All right. Very good, and we'll waive the staff report on this final plat, and since you came all the way down, I'll give you the podium.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Maritza Haro, offices at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. It's a pleasure to be before you this evening. You're all familiar with, I think, the Machado project. We received site plan and T-plat approval last year, so we're back before you, similar to the prior item, for final plat.
Thank you. Moved by Councilman Ross, seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Hereby close the public hearing. Let's have a roll call vote. Sure. Oh, well, before you start, remember, this project has already been approved. This is like the last step, just a ministerial vote. But go ahead, give us your name and address for the record.
Well, I live in the Lake Shores here in Homestead. I recently moved into my own spot. I was previously homeless, but my name is Fernando Vargas, born and raised here in the city of Homestead. And I guess I'm very passionate about what's been happening in our community. You look at that, like the city of Homestead sign behind you, and it's like farm fields and a tractor. Might as well just put a LENNAR building right there in front of it, and that's what it is now. It's like, it's almost a shame of what's been happening here in our community. It's never going to be back to what it was before, and I don't feel like, I guess people in my age group are public about these things or vocal about these things, and I guess it's my aim to just make people more aware of what's been happening. I'm relatively new to all this stuff. A lot of the words that y'all using, I'm not even sure, but I'm a product of the public education here in Homestead, which I'm proud of anyways. You know, it is what it is. And I'm a little nervous right now, I ain't gonna lie. But I guess I just want to voice my opinion about what's been happening in our community, and I'm not even sure what me as a single individual can even do here, but this is the importance of having this thing being brought to the attention of the public, because I know like tab 11, there's 1,000, blah, 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 residential unit next to where I'm living at. It's like small little signs like, hey, we're gonna have this little city council meeting, and we're not aware of these things. People are just so glued to their phones, and if you put public Wi-Fi, people are going to be more glued to their phones even more. And I just think there's maybe there is public information, it's just the lack of resources that are being brought to us from my age group to be aware of these things. And it's like our community is being swept right from under our feet without us really having a chance to fight for it. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And it's like, okay, sure, it's in the name of progress, and now we're getting more money from the taxes and then now people get to fill these things with the things that they get off of Amazon. So it's bringing in new jobs, I guess, and it's bringing in more money. But I don't know, it's like they're going to level out all these fields to build more homes, and it's going to add to the flooding issue. It's going to add to what's been like the traffic, I'm also really big on city infrastructure as well. And it's like they just prop up a red light and think that this is going to help with the flow of traffic. But I don't know what really goes on behind the scene. It's like I'm just this one dude coming to this meeting for the first time and just learning how all this stuff works, trying to learn the words that y'all use as well. But I don't know. That's kind of what I had to say about everything.
Well, hey, we're glad you're here. You know, sometimes one person can make a difference and help spread the word.
Yeah.
And it's not just your age group on all of these development matters. We hear it from across the spectrum, from every walk of life and every age bracket.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for hearing me out, but I hope that I get to see y'all again for many future events. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Did we have a motion? All right. We had a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call.
Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Cannonball? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Lawson?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And tab 11.
Yes, tab 11, your last quasi-judicial item this evening, card number 4300. It's a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting final plat approval as requested by LENNAR Homes LLC for the development of a 1,287 residential dwelling unit subdivision on an approximately 206-acre parcel of land generally located within the villages of Homestead Development of Regional Impact, south of South Canal Drive and north of Southwest 352nd Street, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir, and we'll waive the staff report. Are there any final questions from council? Anyone here wishing to speak on this matter? It's a final plat approval for the last piece of Keysgate BRI. All right, you're just waiting for the next hearing. Go ahead. Enter your appearance.
Hugo Arza, 701 Brickell Avenue. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Okay, so let's open the public hearing. I think we did. All right, do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilman Cannonball, seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. Let's have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Cannonball? Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Lawson?
Yes.
The motion carried.
Moving on to tab 12. That concludes the quasi-judicial, correct?
Correct. Moving on to legislative items. First item this evening is tab 12. This is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by creating Section 30-554, exception for existing schools, to Article 5, non-conforming lots, uses, and structures, to allow certain expansion exceptions in whole or in part within a property or onto adjacent property, contiguous property, or property separated by a public street, alley, or right-of-way, not already containing such use, to existing schools having already received site plan approval pursuant to Section 3047 of the City Code, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, conflicts, and an effective date. This is first reading.
Thank you. And if there are no objections, we'll waive the staff report. We discussed this at length and had the report at the local planning agency meeting earlier this evening. This was brought forward to council with an amendment to the proposed text, which is in effect what's before us now.
Correct.
Deleting, okay. So let me open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this matter? All right, so we'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion for approval on first reading. subject to the amendment. Moved by Councilman Ross, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Ross?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Cannibal? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you. Next item is tab 13. It's a first reading on a budget amendment. I guess that's you, Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 13 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budget for the Electric Utility Fund and Water and Sewer Utility Fund for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 and ending September 30, 2024 by increasing the total budgeted revenues and expenditures by $15,900,000, providing for severability and an effective date.
Thank you. Let's have the staff report on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. CAR 4320 is an item related to the city's issuance of 2 RFPs seeking funding for $5.1 million for the construction of the electric utility substation and also $10.8 million for financing several improvements for water and sewer, including the effluent filters, a Trojan UV 400 system, and other pump station improvements, especially pump station 11 that is connected with the sanitary sewer moratorium. The amendment provides for the recognition of the bank loan proceeds and the appropriation for these capital projects. I'm going to ask the finance director if he has additional input.
We might as well get him warmed up for budget season.
Sir.
The only additional comment I'd like to make is we are hoping to be able to bring back the approval for those loans at the August meeting, along with the award of contract for the electric utility project, because we do have a vendor that provided us a quote for that.
Very good, thank you. All right, any questions from council on this item? All right, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone online or in the chambers wishing to speak on this matter? None appearing, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Cannibal. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Cannibal? Yes. Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next is tab 14, a second reading on car number 4308, increasing the city manager's purchasing authority for professional services agreements. Mr. Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tab 14 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 8, Contracts and Purchasing, Division 2, Competitive Bids, Section 2-411.1, Exemptions from Competitive Bidding to increase the city manager's purchasing authority, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. If no objection, we'll waive the staff report as this is a second reading and has been fully discussed at the prior meeting. Is there anyone here from the public or online wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion for approval on second reading. Moved by Councilman Cannibal, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Let's have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Cannibal? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving right along to tab 15, Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 15 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving a memorandum of understanding between the City of Homestead and Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami, Inc., establishing a mentoring program for resident school-age youth, providing for authorization, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have a presentation from Big Brothers and Big Sisters?
That's correct, sir.
All right, well,
Mr.
real
Gale?
quick, do you have a staff report or is?
There is actually, the staff report is simply to ask council and the mayor to approve the attached resolution and also to ask Mr. Gail Nelson to provide additional information.
Well, let's have the presentation. Welcome. Thank you for hanging in there with us tonight.
It's a pleasure, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. This is a follow-up to our meeting on our presentation on May 22nd, and we appreciate the support. I'm joined by our Vice President of Programs, Asim Plez, and just want to walk through this deck rather quickly. Big Brothers Big Sisters has been in existence for over 100 years. We were founded by a court clerk in 1904 in New York City. And that court clerk, Ernest Coulter, wanted to prevent kids from going into the juvenile justice system. So Big Brothers Big Sisters was born. And so as you think about an organization that's been around for over 100 years, let me make sure I'm going in the right direction. Okay, sorry about that. We've been serving Miami-Dade County since 1958. And our mission and vision are very clear. We believe that all children can achieve their full potential, regardless of where they come from, language they speak. And our mission is to ignite, to create and support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of our youth. And as I get into our programs, in our last meeting on May 22nd, it was abundantly clear that this council supports mentoring, but it was also abundantly clear that you all challenge me. Bring it all. Don't just bring school to work, bring it all. And tonight, we're bringing it all. And so as we think about our service areas, we serve all of Miami-Dade County, and we've expanded to the Florida Keys as well. So what better place than Homestead before we even go to the Florida Keys? We are working with the Key West Police Department as a matter of reference, but I want to focus in on what we're doing and what we will do in partnership and in collaboration with the City of Homestead. We serve over 3,000 youth on an annual basis throughout Miami-Dade County. Pre-pandemic, we had about 300 littles here in the City of Homestead. Over the course, we keep in mind a little, we match them, we ask the mentor, for at least 1 year commitment, but most matches last 3 years. And so we certainly saw a drop off in all of our programming during the pandemic. And just this past June, a month ago, we gave over $2 million away in post-secondary scholarships. When someone becomes a little in any of our programs, they are eligible for post-secondary assistance through a number of our partners. So I won't bore you with what mentoring does because we all know it. It helps, the efficacy of mentoring, academic progress, social progress, as well as just kids feeling more confident in their skin. And so the awards we've received over the years just really show our longevity, and they show the efficacy of mentoring. We became the lead agency for Take Stock in Children. And so an organization many are familiar with, in June of 2018, my first year as president and CEO, we became lead agency for Take Stock in Children. That's why we can leverage Florida prepaid scholarships for Homestead youth. So when I talk about $2 million in scholarships, we're not asking for any money. That's not coming out of our budget, but it is those Florida prepaid scholarships that are purchased that we can assign to Homestead students as well, Homestead residents who are going to school in the city of Homestead. I took notes from our May 22nd meeting. Let's look at the x-axis. I was a former math teacher. So the matching process, we engage the matches, we engage the parents, we provide the support, and we guide the match. Every single match has a program specialist on Mr. Plez's team who will support the match. I have 4 kids. I treat them all differently. And so the same thing with our Big Brothers, Big Sisters matches. We said we meet that little girl right where she is. And on the y-axis going up, we prepare the volunteers through training, interviews. When we connect with Homestead staff, we will do all the training right here on site. The Homestead staff for the School to Work program will never have to leave the building, if you will. And so we encourage family engagement as well. So as we hasten on, here's the menu. Here's everything. You all asked me to bring everything. Community-based mentoring, school to work, workplace mentoring that you all approved in our last meeting, Bigs in School, and Bigs in Blue. I'll go quickly, 10 seconds on each one. Community-based mentoring, the signature program. In 1904, this is what all we had. A Big signs up. My little brother lives in Liberty City. I call his grandmother Valerie. I pick up my little brother Isaiah. He took him to his first Marlins game, his first Heat game. His dad's incarcerated, unfortunately, but I was there as his big brother. That's community-based mentoring. That will be made available to Homestead staff and residents. School to Work, that's the fastest growing program. That's where we engage city staff. Homestead school, high school students will come here to City Hall once a month, matched with a staff member, and they can be exposed to career pathways. Little sister Chantel, Homestead Hospital, she was a Homestead High School student, matched with big sister Amy. That young lady is now a registered nurse. She was saving lives during the pandemic. She was matched as a junior in high school to Amy at Homestead Hospital. You ask her what she wanted to be when she was first matched. She wanted to be a party planner. Nothing wrong with party planners. We like to party. But that little girl was exposed, and now she's still saving lives. So School to Work is once a month here at City Hall. Success, I want to be quantitative and be very specific. Success would be 30 matches in School to Work in our phase 1. 30 matches, working with the city manager. I think we can get there. And School to Work leads to, this is another menu option. They're not all required in phase 1. We can phase this as often as you need it or as much as we need. It's 1 hour a week in a local school. Typically, when we engage law enforcement, they visit the school. It does a few things. 1, their presence. 2, they're matched with the child at the local school, and they can even be matched at our headquarters as well. But we want to keep everything here in the city of Homestead. So Biggs in School is 1 hour a week, helping with homework, building their relationship, and most importantly, helping these kids have that friend. I talked about first responders. We love our first responders. The flag that sits in my office, my first mentor was my late uncle, Deputy Sheriff Gary Claypool. And so as we think about Biggs in Blue, this allows our first responders to be matched. They could be matched in School to Work. So when the high school students come once a month, law enforcement can be involved there. We have most municipalities involved in this. Miami-Dade PD is involved, City of Miami, and City of Miami Gardens. So we would love to get Homestead Police Department through School to Work, through Biggs in School, through community-based. It doesn't matter. And any of the one-to-one programs involved in Biggs in Blue. So as I close, the process is very simple. We interview the Biggs right on site. We fingerprint the Biggs because child safety is paramount to everything we do. We do the references, and then all the interviews will take place on site. I want to keep stressing that because most people tell us, Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council, that they just don't have time. We bring everything to you. So after that interview and the screening, we make the match. Big brother Gerard and his little brother Ronald. He was a little boy when he was matched. Now he's a grown man. And the littles outgrow the bigs. I don't know what happens there, but maybe it's just all the confidence. Our headquarters, we're just south of Miami International Airport. The Homestead Littles, on Saturdays from time to time, we have workshops. We're putting in a teen tech center. They will have access, free access, to our headquarters as well, even though all the matches will take place and we'll meet here in Homestead. And our impact activities, we're doing a back-to-school event July 27th at our headquarters. This is a list of the things we've done. Kids just got back from Spain, far left. Fishing trips to Florida Fish and Wildlife, just exposing these kids to all that beautiful city of Homestead and South Florida has to offer. And so as I close, it takes little to be big. And I just ask you tonight to let's enter this partnership, let's renew the partnership, formalize it through an MOU so that we can make some matches here in the city of Homestead. Thank you so much.
Very good, thank you, appreciate it. Councilman Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. So for anybody that's watching tonight, right? And
Sir?
we have a huge audience that's watching us tonight. How would they be able to apply to be a mentor?
It's right on the screen.
So they just use that QR code?
Yes,
or
sir.
Whatever they call those things. What do they call those?
That's exactly what it is, sir. It's
Okay.
a QR code, Councilman.
All right, good. So, and then it gives them all the information how they can do that?
Once they click on that QR code, they're gonna hit a little yellow thing. It takes them right to the digital application that goes right into the national database for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Miami. And of course, our national office has access. Big Brothers is literally watching. And so with that, once they get into the system, then Mr. Plez, our VP of Programs, his team will then assign an individual interview. And they can pick in their interview what program they want to be a part of.
Great.
That menu of options, sir.
Great, thank you. And so our staff and, as you mentioned, the police department, those guys have access to this information as well, so they can begin to, if they want to share time with a little boy or a little girl, whatever it is, and get registered for those programs.
Yes, what we would like to do to be more intentional with the School to Work program right here at City Hall, we will work with HR. The city manager and Wendy and HR have been phenomenal. We've sent them all the insurance. We've sent them everything they've asked for. They already have it. So we're ready to come in, do a presentation. Somebody looks just like me will come in. It actually will be me and Mr. Plez. We'll come and do a presentation for the staff, give them a chance to sign up via that same link, and then we'll schedule the interviews and fingerprint them right on site.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. I could not be more excited about this. When I started on council almost 8 years ago, that was the one piece that I thought that I could make a difference in. The rest, I thought I'll figure it out as I go. But to help the after-school programs, I'm in education, I'm in preschool, and I've been doing it almost 20 years, and, well, 15. But a lot of my preschoolers were getting into middle school, and there was just not enough for them to do. And I thought, knowing that, hopefully I can make a difference. So that being said, I'm part of a lot of groups. I'm on the board of Together for Children, which is all these different organizations here locally. We help with resources, help tie each other up with whatever it is that we're looking for. So my question is, how do you find the littles that you're helping?
The Littles, we work with the
Yes.
schools. Primarily, the entry points for the Littles come from the schools. They know what kids, they see them every day.
Okay.
So we would get referrals from the schools. Parents, existing Littles, they can refer their friends and family members. That word of mouth is very, very strong. And other community-based organizations. We would like to leverage like the Rotary clubs and coming down and speaking to any civic groups to let them know we recruit bigs through that lens. I know your question was more about the children,
Right.
but schools are our biggest feeder for Littles.
Can I encourage you to partner up with an organization like Citrus that deals with foster children?
Absolutely.
Because there is such a huge need there, and they are not necessarily going to schools in Homestead because they're getting bussed out somewhere else.
Okay.
And I would really personally love to see that happen, and I offer myself whatever I can do to help bridge that gap. I think that is where a lot of our children, especially in the Southwest, are just not being helped. They're just getting bounced around from one therapist to another, from one school to another. So anything that I can do to help with that.
We'll look for you. We need that help.
And with your program with the Bigs in Blue, I don't think that you'll find another police department that is more engaged with just boots on the ground and community police and just going out to where they know that they're needed and just shooting hoops and talking and making conversation. So I look forward to see how great that piece of it goes as well.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so we have anyone in the public, in the chambers or online wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, second by Councilman Roth. Let's have a roll call vote.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilman Cannibal?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Lawson?
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, looking forward to it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down and waiting tonight. All right, tab 16.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 16 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, establishing a proposed operating millage rate of ad valorem taxation, establishing a proposed millage rate for debt service on the general obligation bonds for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, I'll kick it off to Mr. Perez.
Good evening. You may have already known, but property values in the city of Homestead went up by over 19%, the highest in Dade County. I think following us, Florida City had an increase of 17%. And most of that was from an increase in existing values, not as much from new construction. What we're asking at this time is to keep the millage rate. We're asking for the status quo, keep the millage rate at the 6.0206. And that gives us an opportunity as we continue to develop the budget, that by the time we reach the budget hearing, hopefully we can present to you a reduction in the millage rate. We know that that was a directive given by council at last year's budget hearing. Just to point out that for the average homesteaded property whose assessed taxable value is $158,000, the city's portion of the operating millage comes out to $952 that they would be paying to the city. The debt millage rate is being reduced to 0.2580 from 0.3075 to generate the proceeds for the annual debt service on the general obligation bond. And that will always continue. As property values go up, the the debt service remains the same, that millage rate will come down. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'd love to have a deeper dive into why our average homesteaded taxable value is still so low, because we have so many, multi-thousand gated communities that are predominantly owner occupied that have sold for far more than $150,000. It seems artificially low. I mean, the east side's outbuilt the west side, so I know what some of the averages are for homesteaded and some of the communities, sister communities to the north, and we're a tenth of that.
It's the taxable value, okay?
No, I get that. The taxable
just value
value
is like $358,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even so, with all of the acquisitions over the past few years, it's kind of eye-opening as to the real impact to cities as to the caps on the taxable assessment. But that's another conversation for another day. Councilman Roth.
Yeah, I had the same inquiring mind about the average price of the values of the homes. Yeah, it just didn't make any sense. And in the one-on-ones, I did mention to city staff, and I wasn't sure if anybody else had mentioned that to them, that prior to the September 3rd public hearing, in the past, I think we've requested and asked for a workshop prior to, so we can get all seven of us in a room and start talking about our priorities and whether we need additional police officers, which I'm sure we will with the amount of population increases we've had, and maybe some park and rec stuff that we need to look at. Vice Mayor brought up the new Homestead Regional Park that obviously the past was told was probably going to cost us $60 or $70 million to get that thing up. So I'm sure going to re-engineer some of that and get that park up and running sooner than later. So, but some of those things we can talk about, and some of the projects that other council members may want to have. So we do it in a public forum and get it done prior to, so that there's no real messes when we get to the public meeting. So that's just my suggestion.
And I would add, all while driving to an ultimate reduction in the millage rate.
Correct, as we did last year.
We've done it for several years in a row now. We've done more and continue to reduce the millage rate.
Correct.
Vice Mayor, did you have a comment?
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So the administration has plans to actually schedule a workshop sometime, I think, second week or so in August, before we come back with the actual budget in September. So the council will have an opportunity to vet the recommended budget, and we'll make changes as you deem fit. So there is a plan in place
Very
for that.
good. Thank you, sir. All right, yes.
I'll just piggyback a little bit on Councilman Roth. I appreciate him bringing up the need for possible additional employees across the city, and I want every department to give us your wish list. We need to know what your wants are, what your needs are, and we'll help make that decision in the long run. But ultimately, driving to that lower tax rate is the number one goal, but we want to make sure our citizens are taken care of with the right personnel when needed. Thank you.
And finally, I would really, my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to staff for not putting as an agenda item going to the maximum rate has been done in prior years. That was, I think, ill-advised. It's something I'm glad we've gotten away from. Councilman Davis, anything to add?
No, sir.
Councilwoman Alvala?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I definitely want to keep our millage rate going in the down direction as we've been doing in the last couple of years. I think that's been a great initiative for us as a whole. But if we end up keeping the millage rate the same, I can't imagine increasing, our residents' taxes $1,000 and then not having more officers on the road and the parks improved and our, services where they need to be. So we just got to keep a focus on that. And I know we'll have more conversations in the future, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Did we already have a motion? Moved by Bailey, seconded by Councilman Roth. Open the public hearing, if I didn't already do so, for public comment. We'll close the public hearing then and ask for a roll call vote setting the proposed tentative operating and debt millage rates.
Councilman Roth, Councilwoman Bailey, Councilman Cannavale, Councilwoman Abula,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, staff and finance in particular. All right, that takes us to tab 17.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 17 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, adopting and authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 24-25 annual action plans to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval, establishing a budget for community development block grant and home investment partnership funds, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manager, what do you have for us on this one?
So the administration is asking the mayor and council to approve the resolution so that we'll be able to submit the community development block grants as well as the home annual action plan as required by HUD. Let me have the finance director take the thunder. He seems to want to take the accolade. The city for the first time is receiving the home funds.
This is his 6 weeks in the spotlight.
Yes.
I don't want to be in the spotlight, believe me.
So make the big announcement.
With respect to the CDBG plan, obviously it's outlined in your agenda, and it includes projects for parks improvements at Harris Field and JD Red, the STEM program, the swimming program, and the debt service for the Section 108 loan. And what the mayor's alluding to is that for the first time ever, we are now the recipients of home funds. For the initial year, it's $388,000, $388,732. The one caveat is that for the initial year, there's a threshold that we have to meet of $500,000. So the delta of $111,268, we have to make that up. We can either make it up through a contribution from the general fund, or maybe in our discussions with ARPA, we can use ARPA funds as the match for that. And then subsequently, every year after that, we just need to make a 25% match, which we can do with basically the affordable housing initiatives that the CRA does.
Good, thank you. Any questions from council? Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a roll call vote on tab 16. Oh, we did.
Motion, please, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay. Moved by Councilman Cannavale. Second by Councilman Roth. Thank you.
Councilwoman Bailey, Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Councilman Roth. Yes. Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Cannavale, Vice Mayor Fletcher,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Our next item is tab 18.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 18 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, adopting and authorizing the submission of the amended consolidated plans and the Home Investment Partnership, Home Program, and Citizen Participation Plans to submit to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manager.
So this is actually a housekeeping item, so I'm going to ask the finance director to provide details.
And like the manager said, it's a housekeeping item. When we first did the consolidated plan, the 5-year consolidated plan, obviously we didn't know anything about homes. So once we became aware of the home funds, this is basically an amendment to incorporate that into our consolidated plan. So again, it's just a housekeeping item.
Very good. Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? I'll close the public hearing. This item is now moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. If there's nothing further, we'll have a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Councilman Roth, Councilwoman Bailey, Councilman Cannavale, Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Let's move on to tab 19.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 19 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, accepting a grant award from the Hispanic Access Foundation for the Urban Forest Reforestation Project, authorizing the city manager to execute the grant agreement and related documents, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
So it's worth noting and actually placing on the record that the project will increase equitable access to urban tree canopy by planting a total of 898 native trees, as well as non-invasive grasses and landscape improvements in what is considered disadvantaged communities within the city. There is a list of locations that was submitted with respect to this grant. What I'm asking for is for council to simply accept the grant, and we come back with a revised location list by touching base with each of you so that you guys can vet and advise us as to recommended locations.
Very good. Thank you, sir. And let me just thank and commend staff for finding and winning this money. Yeah, nearly 1,000 trees is a big deal. It really is. Makes a big difference in the aesthetics and feel of the community. Council, any questions, comments? All right, moved by Councilwoman Bailey, second by Councilman Cannonball. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to do a roll call vote.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Cannonball? Yes. Councilman Roth? Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carried.
Thank you. Move on to tab 20.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 20 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the accessing of various contracts via the interlocal purchasing system, TIPS, and approving an interlocal agreement with Region 8 Education Service Center provide for cooperative purchasing services to the city through the TIPS program, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
So the good thing about this legislation is it grants us the ability to utilize previously competitively solicited contracts by public agencies and cities and municipalities for free. So we'll be able to, as a member, in purchasing cooperative tools, vendors, as well as contracts that are in place. We really need this type of contracts, like we've been making savings in some of our prior commitments. Earlier this evening, we were able to demonstrate that we made a substantial savings in the roof replacement project. So this is one of those platforms that you can bid a contract out without actually doing solicitation by yourself. So it saves us time, it saves project costs, and it makes things very timely. We intend to utilize this contract, if it's approved tonight, for the procurement of the next item, which is tab 21.
Very good. Thank you. Questions from council? Moved by Vice Mayor. Seconded by Councilman Roth. Any public comment? So roll call vote.
Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Roth? Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Cannonball? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Let's move on to tab 21.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 21 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, accepting a proposal with VORTEX Services LLC through the Interlocal Purchasing System, TIPS, for the completion of an SSES Cycle 2 wastewater basin repair project, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement exempting the project from competitive bidding in accordance with Section 2-411.185 of the City Code, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
This is one of those good things that we're hoping to accomplish before the end of this fiscal year, before the end of the calendar year, rather. We intend to use this contract that has been approved under tab 20 to be able to deliver pump station 22, pump station 8, pump station 13, pump station 24, and pump station 25, inclusive of the basins, which is the conveyance system that services all the residential units associated with those pump stations, to be able to address the sanitary sewer moratorium in the city. The good news is that the vendor had assured us that they will be able to deliver sometime this year. So we should be able to revert back to Durham to lift the temporary moratorium associated with the pump stations.
Outstanding. Thank you. Any questions from council? We have a motion to approve. Moved by Councilman Cannonball. Seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. Any public comment? Close the public hearing and have a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilman Cannonball? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carried.
Thank you. There doesn't appear to be any new council member business listed on the agenda. Anything further, Mr. Manager?
So just a point of information, we received information from Miami-Dade County Agriculture Manager, Mr. Charles Leprad, that the Miami-Dade County, in consultation and coordination with Community Health of South Florida, would like to host a health fair for farm workers in the city of Homestead for everybody in South Dade. This is probably going to come up in the second or third week of September. So just want to give council a heads up.
Very good, thank you. That concludes your new business?
Yes. Just a little bit of good news. In one of our prior meetings, actually in the special call, we informed council about the emergency repairs that we intended to do on the air conditioning system. Just to report back that the second chiller at the roof has been completed. So you continue to see that the building has come back to life.
Good, yes, what a difference, thank you. All right, anything further from the attorneys? All right, Councilwoman Bailey?
Thank you, Mayor. Real quick. Future Innovators and Creators, along with the Southwest Advisory Committee and myself, we are hosting a big summer art festival July 28th at Harris Field. It is a book bag giveaway, along with games, food trucks, raffles, bunch of fun stuff. So July 28th, Harris Field. Also, just a heads up that the Firefighter of the Year is coming up again, so please share where possible for the community to be able to nominate their Firefighter of the Year. Really quick, as I mentioned last month, Starbucks chose Homestead as the first place in Florida where they hosted their all-in program where they give back to communities in need. So we were very lucky to be chosen. It was a huge event at FISCAL Williams. The turnout was amazing. So just a very big thank you to Starbucks, along with all of the organizations that helped them put that all-in program together. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Cannonball, anything? No? Councilman Davis?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Roth?
Thank you. Two things. One, announcement for the Military Affairs Council is having their annual Vegas night at the Redland Golf and Country Club. If you haven't been to that event before, you pay $25 to get in, and you gamble all night long and buy cocktails and enjoy fun and food, and all the money we raise there goes to the Military Affairs Council, which helps to help families out at the Air Force Base here. And the other thing I have is last month I mentioned or asked about finding who's responsible for the repair and maintenance and repaving of Flagler from Chrome to 11th Street. Do we have any information on that?
Yes, we do. We reached out to Miami-Dade County, which is responsible and has jurisdiction over Flagler Avenue. As we speak, the county has a $1 million reconstruction project for that corridor. So what the city would love to do, if you look at the ARPA fund presentation, we had a provision for a sanitary sewer along that corridor. So we want to see if we can either do a joint participation project or perhaps go ahead of the county. So we would perhaps love to go ahead of the county to put the sanitary sewer in the ground and have the county come back and pave it, since they have a project in place.
Great, thank you. And then just a mention of the roads. There's some potholes on, I want to say it's 162, basically in front of the DR Horton project. They repaved portions of the road there, but there's been some potholes that's opened up with all the rain we've had. So if we can send somebody by there just to fill those up for us.
We will.
It's just south of, I'm sorry, just north of Lucy or North Canal. I think it's 162 Avenue, it's,
The Parker Point project, right?
yeah, I think it's right, yeah, around the corner there where they're doing the new house. They had the grand opening there this week, if anybody went to it.
Yeah. Kind of across from our electric substation that's on.
Right
on
there,
Farmline.
exactly. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Roth. Councilwoman Avila.
Thank you, Mayor. Just an announcement about our citywide book collection, book drive that we're having on July 27th, which is a Saturday morning, 9:30 to 12:30. The Kiwanis of Homestead organization will be gladly receiving those book donations, and then we'll redistribute them at various local events in town. Special thanks to staff for helping to put this together, and for Mayor and Council for supporting this initiative to get more books in the hands of children in our community. Also, wanted to make sure everyone has on their calendars for our faith-based families and organizations to come out August 10th for the Praise and Worship concert that we will be hosting. I think it's a beautiful endeavor, and I think it'll be a wonderful blessing in our community. We will be granting that donation check that our mayor nominated the organization, the Soup Kitchen, to. And so I think it'll be a wonderful evening. So thank you to staff, and for all of our volunteers that will be helping that evening. And we'll have some great talent. So see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Vice Mayor Fletcher.
Yeah, a couple quick things. So first off, just important announcement. Not sure if they're still out there or not, but Amazon did notice jobs on Friday evening for 1,200 positions at the new distribution center near the Air Force Base, which is phase one of before they start opening the one in Homestead. So look at Amazon.com, and if you want to have a job, they might have an opportunity for you. Had the opportunity to go to the have a meeting with the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau president and his staff, along with a vice president from NASCAR and Al Garcia from Homestead Miami Speedway, in regards to us going after the NASCAR championship again. And I can tell you the meeting was very fruitful. We've gained a lot of opportunities working with different organizations to attempt to go after that bid in 2026. More to come on that, but just want to make sure everybody's aware that we are in the high runnings in order to get that race back down here in Homestead, along with some other things that are going to be coming up soon. Wanted to say I was extremely impressed with the Big Brothers Big Sisters presentation tonight. I just wrote wow down. I'm going to be signing up as a big brother there, so I would ask my colleagues to look at doing the same thing. Quickly on the public works side, I had a discussion tonight with the LENNAR representative that was here. They have come through and dug right down the middle of a recently repaved Palm Drive and put sewer pipe in there. And I've been assured that LENNAR will be coming back to resurface that once they get through their main construction process here. But let's always keep an eye on those developments that do have those impacts in our city. And to kind of go back at the start of the meeting, I might have sounded a little upset, or I just want to say I'm passionate about some of the things we're doing here in the city, okay? Call me crazy, but you know, from the private sector, I think we can find efficiencies and find ways to do things faster. We have a lot of smart people that work here in the city, and sometimes we tend to stay in our own lanes. Think outside of the box. That's all I ask. Think outside of the box, look at different ways of trying to gain those efficiencies and keep those projects moving. That's all. With that, hope everyone has a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And since I have nothing further, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. So say we all. Good night, everyone. Thank you.